Hi. So in this video, we'll just talk about my stock market journey so far and how did I get into this accumulation distribution thing, and also how I got into the teaching stuff. So my journey began in 2013. So like any other retail investor, right? I used to buy stocks based on tips, and sometimes it used to work, sometimes it wasn't working. I used to lose money. So just one stock that I remember. So in in 2015, what I did was there was this stock called Southern Ispat. So okay, so this one was trading at 10-15 paise, and I kind of went there and bought almost a lakh shares of this particular stock, thinking कि इसका जो high है, it is around 1 rupee. So if I put 15,000 rupees and buy this 15 paisa stock, whenever it goes back to 1 rupee, right, I would make a lakh rupees. So that was the kind of mentality I had because I had absolutely no idea about the markets. I used to basically treat it as a gamble. So then I kind of lost a lot of money during all this thing, around a few one odd lakh I had lost in this stupidity that I did in 2014, 2013, 14, and 15, right? And then what happened? I met a guy at work, and I was just looking at this particular stock, Syncom Formulations. I used to just look at these penny stocks, single digit stocks, things like that. Because when you are just beginning, right, you would want to have larger quantity of a smaller stock. That is what a lot of people do. So I was just looking at this, and then the guy saw what I was doing on the mobile app. So money control back in those days, 2015, 16, 17, 18, was very popular. A lot of people used to do this. And then that guy asked me whether I do trading and all. I said, "Oh, I do, but I've lost most of my money, and this is more like a gamble." But then the guy kind of showed me his portfolio, and then I actually saw profits. That guy was actually sitting on profits. And then he kind of showed me in the money control app. There is something called as EPS, PE, things like that, book value. So based on that, you can actually invest in good quality names and make money. So that is when it kind of first clicked because until then I was busy with my work, doing all this trading as a gambling, right? And after that, I started reading a few books. So he suggested a few books, and I started with the Intelligent Investor. To be honest, if you are someone who is just starting your career and if you read Intelligent Investor, you will be bored to death, right? Because this book talks about bonds, this, that, everything, and also the method which Benjamin Graham used back in those days. No one no longer uses it, right? You don't get quality stocks at such reasonable valuation. Even Warren Buffett himself has stopped using this particular method, right? So this is what happened, and finally what I did is in 2016, okay, in 2016, I had quit my job and then I wanted to do some business. I never planned that I would be going full time into investment. But then what happened in April of 2016, I bet whatever savings I had, right, on one stock, that is Kakatia, Sugar and Cement. And this particular stock from 180, so this was in March, April, during that time, right? And I kind of averaged it up a little also. This went to almost 600. So I basically, by averaging it up and all of that, I kind of doubled my money in this particular stock, right? It was like a few couple of lakhs that I made in this particular stock. I didn't know much about the stocks, right? And this whatever little knowledge I had, I bet all that on one single stock, and thankfully it worked out. To be honest, this was also a gamble, right? You don't bet 100% of your money in one stock. But then once you start making, let's say, 7-8 months of your salary in, let's say, 1 month, and doing absolutely nothing, just researching something. So this got me hooked to the markets, and since then I never looked back. Right. So this was my first stock, and after this one, right, what I did when once I booked it, I booked in, I think, June around 5:20 thereabout. And when I did that, what happened was I put that money, I took out my principal amount, right? And the profits that I had made, because I was not sure what I was doing, right? And that particular money, I bet on Upper Ganges. So Upper Ganges, I'll just show you what happened in Upper Ganges. So in June of, yeah, so this is June of 2016, right? So when I put my money here, in 3 days, the stock went up 60%, right? 20% upper circuits. I started to feel ki I know everything about markets. And even my father said ki, what are you doing? How can you make so much money in less than 2, 3 months? Right? Because I had made more than a year's salary in just 2, 3 months and sitting at home trading stocks. It was that kind of a bull market. So upper Ganges, you can see this is a daily chart. It went up like crazy from 220, it went up to 350, 380, right? So it went up 60, 70% continuously. So this one, and then once I booked out there, I bet on something like Black Sugar, which went up from 20, in 2016, right? So it went up from almost 20 odd bucks here, September 16, to 75, right? So, but I booked around 60 odd rupees. So that was also a 100 plus bagger. But my best one was V2 retail. So this one, I bet around 60 bucks and it went to almost 540, right? So massive money, like it was like crazy bull market. Although many people feel ki 2020 and 21 wala bull run is the best, but those who have seen 16, 17 wala bull run, right, that was absolute madness at that point. So this time I made like 3, 4, 5 years ka salary जो भी आ रहा था, that much money I had made, and I thought कि अभी वापस क्या जाना है? Why go back and work, right? But then, like all good things come to an end. So in between, I during this bull run itself, I read this book, Peter Lynch, Beating the Street. So that kind of made me select stocks like this cyclicals, that is Upper Ganges, the Arcade, V2 Retail. So all of those was after reading Peter Lynch. To be honest, the intelligent investor didn't help me much because Peter Lynch, Beating the Street, that kind of helped me identify stocks and bet on them. So I was basically a fundamental guy, just looking at the fundamentals, looking at how the sales are growing, profits are growing, and invest. And I made crazy money during that time. But then, like I said, all good things come to an end. So in 2018, Jan, so I was betting on Prakash Industries. So steel was something I had not really understood much. Although it is also a cyclical, sugar I had studied it quite thoroughly and I knew what was happening, but steel I had not. And what happened? I ended up buying Prakash Industries around the top at 200 bucks, and I bet almost 40, 50% of my portfolio on this, thinking कि ये single digit वाला stock है. I mean the P was in single digit and it can easily double from here because I was so addicted to sitting on stocks for 50, 100, 150%. That same mentality, I put a huge chunk on this, sitting, thinking कि ये पैसा बना के देगा. But then what happened? It started to fall, right? And then I panicked and booked out after some 30, 35% loss. And once the bear market starts, right? In the bull market, what happens? Whenever you buy a dip, you are rewarded because the stock eventually goes up. तो इसमें भी मतलब not Prakash Industries, in other stocks I kept on doing that. Whenever they used to fall, let's say 20, 30%, I used to bet on them कि अभी if I buy this dip, the stock should move up because the economy was doing okay, and I think this is how one makes money in the long term. But then stocks continuously kept on moving down. So 2018 and 19, if you look at the small cap index, right? So those were the worst time for a small and mid cap investor. So 2018 and 2019, during that period, the stocks, they kind of had a very bad fall. So from levels of, I'll just show it to you on the chart. From a level of 9,600, they had come to 5,000. So almost half. But stocks, I'll tell you, stocks had dropped almost 60, 70, 80% during that time. It was the worst period, if I tell you, right? From 18 to from the start of 18. So this is January. So till September, October of 2019, stocks had corrected 60, 70, 80%. But what happened in between itself, I kind of booked out and I was doing F&O, trying all sorts of stuff. And then what happened? I stumbled upon this book. That is How to Trade in Stocks by Jesse Livermore. Right? This totally changed my perspective about technicals. Earlier, I used to think कि fundamental से ही सब कुछ चलेगा and you can make easy money. But then after reading this, I kind of became a techno funda guy and started looking at charts and stuff like that. So that is when I finally figured out how exactly the accumulation distribution thing happens. After a lot of trial and error, I was able to understand how exactly the accumulation distribution thing happens. And in 2019, I started trading based on that. So a few of my trades were Crystal, Polycap, all of that, which gave me pretty decent returns. And in the 4 5 month period, I was sitting on a 25 30% kind of gains during that period in 4 months in 2019 when the market was actually still sideways, right? And then the crash came. So this crash was more of a panic crash. There was not really distribution that happened here. It was more of a panic crash. So whenever we see panic crashes, what happened? We generally see a V-shaped recovery, right? So in a distribution-led one like this one, it is a slow drawdown. Like here also, it is a slow drawdown. But if it is a panic crash, we bounce back. So big guys had not really distributed it. So it was more of a panic crash that happened during COVID, and that is why we bounced back during that time, right? So during that period, if I show you before the crash itself, based on my method, I was able to identify that accumulation was very strong in API guys, right? And I was sitting on even something like Loras also. So if you go back and check February 14th, वो लॉरस का प्राइस क्या था, it almost gave me like a 6 7 bagger, right? From that period to the top of bull run, it went up to 8 or 9x, but then I booked out around that 6 7 bag of stuff, right? So not just this, and I used to continuously tweet about accumulation, all of that. So looking at this, a guy on Twitter who used to follow me on this one as well. That is Money Control back in those days. So he kind of texted me. We used to be on talking terms, and I used to send data for free. That is this accumulation data at that time because we're not selling courses and all. So this guy, so I just showed him what are the courses. I mean, this course that I had conducted for my friends, right? So this was that particular thing, how all this happens and all of that, right? So what I did was, since it was more for my friends, since they were my friends, I sent the PPT, and then on a con call I used to do this. So this guy said he would be interested. So he was the first guy who said, "Kochi, I want to take your course," right? And then this is how it started, right? Sign me up for the course whenever you plan to offer it. So then he took my bank account, so it is down there, but I wouldn't want to go there and make it public, right? So this is how it started. Okay, so all of you who have learned this method, right? You must be grateful for this guy, Fossil Boy. Go and follow him. Okay, spam is timeline as well. So okay, so coming back. So this is how it started. And the first class that I took, right, hardly 4 people in that. But then by word of mouth and by looking at the tweets, it all started. And until now, probably around 800 plus students I have trained who kind of are doing very well on their own itself, right, based on this whole accumulation and distribution. So to be honest, the course and all that stuff I only started because people started asking. Until then, 16 to 21, I was just doing this. I was handling others' portfolios and things like that. Once I became a little confident on that accumulation distribution thing. So in September, around September of 2019. That is when I started handling others' portfolios as well. That is close friends and family. So that has been my journey so far. So with this method, it has helped a lot of people. Even if you go through my recent tweets, how it kind of helped us know that there was a bottom being made at 8,700 on the small cap index. So this has been my journey so far. Probably I would teach another 100 or 200 odd students until I hit that 1,000 mark, and probably say goodbye to teaching and just concentrate on trading and stuff. Probably you learned a little on this my mistakes, and you would not do it in your career as well. Thank you for watching.